All right, let's jump right in. We tend to think of our lives as this one long, straight road. But what if that's not right? What if it's more like a book with totally different, powerful chapters? And what if you're the one holding the pen? This is the big one, right? How in the world do you make a massive, what feels like an impossible life change? I'm talking about things like picking up and moving to a whole new country or completely switching careers or, just reinventing who you are after something big happens. It feels huge. So where do you even begin? Okay, to get some perspective on this, check out this amazing story. In the Dutch city of Utrecht back in the 70s, they did something kind of crazy. They took a beautiful historic canal and paved it over to make a highway, just concrete. But then decades later, they decided to undo it. They took on this massive project to turn the highway back into a canal. Think about that. If a whole city can rip up decades of concrete and bring back a river, well, maybe a huge personal change like moving your life to a new country isn't so impossible after all. It just goes to show you, even these giant shifts can happen. But here's the thing about these massive changes. They don't just happen out of the blue. Nope. They almost always start with a spark, some kind of event that either forces your hand or, bam, opens a door you never even saw before. That's what we're going to call the catalyst. And a lot of the time, that catalyst is, well, it's something tough. Author Bradley Charbonneau talks about this. For him, it was his father passing away. It was this painful, awful thing, but it was also the push he needed to finally do something he'd been dreaming about for years, moving his family from San Francisco to Europe. So you see, a really negative event can actually launch this incredibly positive, life-changing action. And these catalysts, they're often things a lot of us go through. Take writer Susan de Vriend. She got laid off. Sucked at the time, but that's what pushed her to move to the Netherlands. For Bradley, years later, it was his kids leaving home, becoming an empty nester. That was the trigger for his next big move, to Italy. These events, they're tough, for sure, but they create this moment where you look around and realize the old way just doesn't work anymore. Okay, so you've got the catalyst. It's pushing you to make a move. But even then, the biggest roadblock, it's usually not about the logistics or the money or the planning. It's the battle that's happening right inside your own head. It's that huge barrier of fear and self-doubt. And this quote, wow, it's just so real, isn't it? Who am I to call myself a writer? Susan had been writing her entire life. Keeping journals since she was 7 years old. But the fear of actually saying it out loud, of claiming that identity, it held her back for years. It's that classic imposter syndrome, that little voice in your head that whispers, who do you think you are, trying to do this thing you've always wanted to do? So really, this internal barrier is all about the gap between what we're doing and who we allow ourselves to be. We get this picture postcard idea of what success should look like, right? We think a writer has to be, like Hemingway sitting by a lake. And when our real life doesn't look like that perfect picture, we tell ourselves we're not the real deal. And we just stay stuck. So, if fear is the big problem, what's the solution? Well, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not waiting for some magical burst of motivation, because motivation, it comes and goes. Real lasting change is built on something way more solid: commitment. And having a system. So here are the 3 keys to actually make it happen. Number 1, start a small daily habit. Don't try to write the whole novel on day 1. Just write for 10 minutes, every single day. Number 2, create public accountability. Tell somebody what you're doing. Seriously, just saying it out loud makes it feel real. And number 3, this one's huge. You have to be okay with failing. Or, better yet, reframe it. Think of FAIL as your first attempt in learning. It's not an end, it's a beginning. And if you need proof that this whole system thing works, just look at this number, 2,888. That's how many days in a row Bradley wrote. Every single day. That's almost 8 years straight. You think he was motivated every one of those days? No way. He had a system. He had a commitment. And all those tiny daily actions added up to something absolutely massive. And all of this leads to the final and honestly the most powerful idea of all. You are not just a passenger along for the ride in your own life. No, you are the author. You hold the pen. You have the power to design it on purpose. Bradley has this great way of thinking about it. You know how they say cats have 9 lives? Well, we humans, we only get 1. But, and this is the key part, we can chop that one life up into as many different chapters as we want. You can have your Dutch chapter, then your writer chapter, and then your Italian chapter. You get to decide when one chapter ends and a brand new one begins. And really, this is what it all boils down to. So many of us build our lives around what other people might want. It's like buying a house just for the guest room, for visitors who might not even show up. This whole idea is about flipping that script. It's about building your life for you, for right now. It's about making choices that fit the chapter you want to live, not the one you think you're supposed to. So let's wrap this up with a question for you. A city can tear up a highway and find a canal. A lifelong hobby can finally become an identity. Your next big transformation is totally possible. The only question left is, what's it going to be? What will your next chapter be?